in no particular order. We line them up, ready to qualify. Fly trucks. I've already run my truck, which I just used to clean the track, and we've got a 69463. That was the Stars and Stripes truck, 69463. Pretty much a stock truck except for a BRM rear axle. First up the qualifier, Robert Livingstone's camouflage truck. Tricky to drive because I couldn't see it once it got over in the distance because of the camouflage. I'm kidding. 66153 after 13 laps, and it came off a couple of times in qualifying, coming onto the front straight and would immediately jump into the next slot. With a lot of weight down low, runs pretty good. Next up, Buster Fla. Buster from Florida, I guess. Here we go. Okay, the number 77 car, Buster Fla. This car really hauls around the track. 6.4s consistently, much easier to drive than Robert Livingstone's. Doesn't come out of the corners and tip. No crashes. Fastest lap 63604. Up Lance. Okay, it tends to de-slot without much warning. Also binds up in the corners. Definitely not as fast as the first two trucks. Best lap of a 70081. 3 crashes. Hot Stots 132. It's pretty good. Chatters a bit. Not sure. Chatters a bit. Fast time 65597. We have one off. Okay, it's one of Phil Caldwell's cars. Good looking car. It's a truck, not a car. It's a good running truck to a point, but it de-slots from the front, coming up the hill, going into the bank and coming onto the lead-on. 3 crashes, 65228, but it's a hard truck to push. It doesn't tip or slide, it just pops the guide out from the front. This one, another one from Phil Caldwell. This one, not a cab over. Let's see how this one goes. Using a Ninko guide with that ramp front, it makes the cars just pop out of the slot as they're putting pressure on the guide coming out of a corner. Again, it does exactly the same as his cab over. Good car to a point, but if you push, it just pops out at the front. 3 crashes, all of them coming up the hill on the donut, popping out from the front. 65354. This one's Beladas. Let's see how this one goes. 0 crashes. If you push too hard, nose stays in, it just wags its tail at the back and loses speed. Very easy truck to drive. No crashes. 65209. Not the fastest truck, but if you push over the limit, it just gets sideways and loses speed instead of coming out. This one's Tel 52. Another bull-nosed truck. Let's see how this one goes. Good solid truck. It's not running its best because the braid is almost completely wore out. It's lost any of its kind of tension. It's just like floppy. One off coming up over the bridge after coming out of the donut. Just pushing too hard. 63215. One off. It was dying in the bank. The braid is just about on the end of its life. I did set the braid to stop it dying in the bank. Got a good time out of it, but it is definitely at the end of its life for the braid. This is trans issues. Apparently this truck is supposed to be a rocket. We'll find out. See whether it is here. Every track has every truck, never mind, has a track it runs best on. What will this one be like? Okay, it runs great here. If you really push, it gets a little bit tippy, but just tips and stutters. It's the only truck to go flat through the bank. It is fast. No crashes. 62449. This one's wet coast. Be interesting to see how this compares. Tips and chatters, but almost won't come out. It'll go flat through the bank, but it just loses power. It just gets up on 2 wheels, loses power, then drops back down on 4. One off. This is Wet Goats 67485. Almost every lap it's getting up on 2 wheels in the bank. It's going to be hard to get too much more time than that out of it, but it runs well. A little bit tippy and chattery, but not a bad running truck. One feels like it's got a lot of weight. Another one from Trans Issues. Let's see how this one runs. Nothing like his other truck. It chatters and bounces. It's fairly fast, but unpredictable. I think I have 4 offs in qualifying. It just pops off. It kind of gets itself chattering and then just bounces itself out of the slot. 66837 best lap, 3 crashes, twice out of the bank, and once coming up the hill. No, sorry, once coming onto the straight. Autorama. Race with full brakes. I always race with full brakes. Anyway, see how this one goes. Okay, another one that ties itself in knots exiting corners. Hard to get the best time. It also loses power coming up the hill if you push. It's fast, but hard to get the best out of. One off, 64567, the fastest. Fast to a point, and then it kind of ties itself in a knot. Another one from Autorama, and let's see how this one goes. Very drivable. If you push too hard, it wags its tail. One off coming onto the front straight, tipped, and then just took to the next lane. But other than that, a very good truck. One off, fastest lap, 62988. Not the smoothest truck, that would go to Trans Issues, but fast. I'm not sure who the fastest was because I wasn't writing them down. I'll have to watch the video to know where qualifying ends. So here they all are after qualifying. Some of them have a habit of kind of tying themselves in a knot as they come out of the corners. Some of them de-slot from the front, particularly the ones with the ramped Ninko type guides. Makes it really hard to get good times. And then there's a few that just wag their tail when they get to the limit. Those are the ones that I find you can push the hardest. Okay, let's get a little bit of video of probably one of the class of the field cars. Hang on a second, here we go. Very smooth. Shouldn't keep calling them cars, they're trucks. This is a very smooth truck. 6.9, one-handed while videoing. 6.8. Just very predictable, easy to push. Down in the 6.5s. I went quicker qualifying, but that's Trans Issues. Very good truck. This is Wet Coasts. You see it's got that hop. And it shatters and stutters. See it kind of bind up as it comes up the hill. Little cowbells. Fast. This is the one that de-slots from the front. A little bit tippy. Zippy and tippy. Oh, that's what it does. It de-stops from the front. One of the fastest cars, Autogrammers. Very stable. Six fours. Every lap's in the 6.4s. Even with that stumble, it's 6.4. Four again. 637. Not as fast as qualifying, but it's one-handed while videoing. Okay, we'll have to load the video up on YouTube to find out how the qualifying went. I didn't write it down, but I spoke all the times, so hopefully we can hear it, and then we'll get to the race. Hopefully that'll come tomorrow, subject to family. Very fun, guys. A lot of fun to run. This is in no particular order. That's the grid.